Book Memories, a guest blog post series run on dandantheartman.com. This week's post is by A.F. Grappin. Book Memories number 2. I once actually had someone ask me if I was reading Dostoyevsky on purpose. While that's probably one of my favorite memories of reading, I pretty much just summed up the entire memory in that sentence, and that doesn't make for a very good blog post. I could go into more detail, like how I was reading the Brothers Karamazov in the hallway of the music building in college when I should have been practicing, or like how my music theory professor once asked me why I wasn't majoring in English instead of music, and he's the one that suggested I read the Brothers Karamazov in the first place. Yeah, those were good times. But they were some years ago, and honestly, I was a completely different character then. Person. Books affected me differently then, meaning they didn't. Not really. While I did spend much more time reading words than music at the time, I really wasn't ready to truly read or appreciate books. Stories? Yes. I could appreciate stories. I couldn't appreciate the books yet, at least not on an emotional level. I had to go through a lot of crap first, a lot of emotional breakthroughs, and one really bad relationship. But hey, that's what made me the way I am now. So here I am, a solid 5 to 7 years after the Dostoyevsky thing, and here's one of my favorite book memories. This actually happened in late December 2013. After 3 years of being away from the stage, I had been cast as the prince in a heavily abridged, edgy cut of Romeo and Juliet. Community theater, not for pay, that sort of thing. Fortunately, I'd performed the show before, pretty much the same cut with the same director, and I was playing the same role I'd played 4 years ago. Not a huge role, and I actually remembered most of my lines. The prince gives a lot of speeches, so I really didn't have a lot of on-stage time. I'd go on, give my speech in the scene, and be done for 20 minutes until my next scene or speech. Well, as evidenced by the whole not practicing in the music building thing I mentioned earlier, I have a tendency to read when I'm supposed to be doing other things. Used to be, I'd have a book and some sort of pen light. Now I've got my glorious Kindle. It was easily hidden in my costume. I'm a terrible person, I know. Off stage, after my scene, I'd already have the Kindle whipped out and be reading. For the bulk of rehearsals and our performances, yes, I had the Kindle with me during performances. I know, horrible person. I was smack dab in the middle of Mike Cole's Shadow Ops trilogy. Specifically, much of this time, I was reading the second book, Fortress Frontier. I don't know if I can honestly describe the emotional highs and lows the combination of Fortress Frontier and Romeo and Juliet put me through. One rehearsal in particular, about a week before opening night, I'm sitting in the wings, reading away. We've just gotten started, and I'm waiting for my first entrance. When I go on and yell at the Capulets and Montagues for fighting in Verona streets, tell them that if they keep fighting, they'll die, yada yada yada. My character was just ticked off for the entire show. I turn it off and turn it on like a switch. Pissed? Not pissed. It's fun. Well, this day was different, because I'd just read a passage in Fortress Frontier that made my jaw drop. I mean, honest to God, my mouth was hanging open like a screen door on a muggy Wednesday afternoon in the deep south. Fly-catching, germ-spreading, hanging open. I had not seen the return of this character coming. I thought he was dead. Sure, I had my doubts about his death, but I hadn't expected him to be alive. Not really. So that jaw drop was part, I didn't see that coming, and part, I knew it! Talk about an adrenaline rush, the euphoria of some amazing storytelling. Then I heard my cue. I had to put the book nerd away and turn into stage nerd. Angrier than a bull getting hemorrhoids installed, stage nerd. I had to come on stage stomping and shouting my displeasure, when all I really wanted to do was tell the rest of the cast that, spoiler alert, I'm not giving this away, was alive. None of them would have known what I was talking about. Even those other castmates that were big readers hadn't heard of Mike Cole. I have since evangelized at length to them. I didn't care. I was on a high of epic proportions, and now I had to use that energy to berate some of my best friends on stage. This sort of moment happened 2 more times, with the same book, during the same show. I tore through Fortress Frontier, finishing it during our 3rd performance. I couldn't have planned it better, actually. You know that sort of low you get when you've finished a book and you've already ridden the high of an amazing ending. Then it hits you that it's over, and you're just in a slump until you pick up the sequel and or find something else to immerse yourself in? I finished Fortress Frontier about 10 minutes before my big scene. When the prince learns that Mercutio, his cousin, though in this production we made the character my sister, yes, played by a woman, has been killed. The prince is torn up at the loss of family, and I was torn up at finishing one of the best books I'd ever read. It seemed to fit. Couple that emptiness with the fact that it was my best friend playing Mercutio, and that I was looking at her dead, and yeah, I sort of lost it. The actress who played Lady Capulet, who I've known for years and who has known me to not be the best at acting, told me I made her feel a little ashamed of herself for the Capulet-Montague feud. I was that affected, and it showed in my performance. Basically, here's what I'm saying. Words are power, and words are powerful. I'd never really been one to get that emotionally invested in something I was reading, or even that I was writing. My mistake. Immerse yourself. Let it in. And then, more importantly, let it out. A.F. Grappin currently lives in Tennessee and writes in those spare moments of time before and after the food-providing day job. Check out afgrappin.com, that's afgrappin.com, for currently published works, Impetigo and The Trials of Halleck. And find AF's blog, home to writing articles, book reviews, short fiction, and the serial novel Mere Acquaintances. You can hear a handful of short stories on the Every Photo Tells podcast. Hey everybody, this is Dan, and wow, that was an awesome memory. I'm thankful that A.F. Grappin wrote that in. It was really heartfelt, and it's an awesome memory to hear him relive as he wrote it out for us. I just love these memories of things. It just stirs up so many things you might not expect when you're writing it. I know from previous memory guest blog post series that I've run, the people writing these things, it really brings them back to that moment. And that's just a fun thing for them, and then a fun thing for us to share with them as they share their stories and memories with us. So, thanks for writing that in. Don't forget, I'd love for you to write up your own book memory and send it in to me so I can put a blog post of it with pictures and then podcast it in audio like I just did for A.F. Grappin. Just email your guest posts to danabso@hotmail.com. That's danabso@hotmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time with a guest blog post from Michael J. Sullivan, famous author of the amazing fantasy series The Rhaenyra Revelations, The Rhaenyra Chronicles, and now writing in the science fiction genre with Hollow World. That's going to be another good one. This podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivative Works license. Music by Kevin MacLeod over at incompetech.com. Sound effects are from freesound.org. Thanks for listening.